Right, with us now is a dear friend of ours, and like I mentioned earlier, one of the original pioneer members of the Business Forum Group, and one of the top business, small business attorney in South Florida, and that is Lillian Sir, founder and president of Sir and Associates. Lillian, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Pete. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
Well, when I reached out to you last week, we were already in coronavirus talk, and it was accelerating of the things that were going on. But today, it's more important than ever to have this conversation because all businesses, large, medium, and small, are going through some very, very difficult challenges right now. But I think that you and I would agree it's the small business owner, the entrepreneur, that is taking an immediate hit right now as we speak. And you are a great representative of small businesses and a true spokesperson. Before we get into what is happening real time with the coronavirus and how it's affecting the small business owner, if you can take a short minute to share a little bit about yourself and what Sir and Associates actually provides its clients.
Sure, Pete. I have been working with small businesses and entrepreneurs for the last 10 years with my firm. We are a group of 6 very experienced attorneys, and we service clients from buying and selling a business through all sorts of contracts, real estate, commercial leasing, trademarks, pretty much everything that a business owner might need for their operations. And we now are, in the last 3 to 4 weeks, have been talking to many of our clients who are already experiencing canceled contracts or trying to get out of a contract, issues with employees, issues with income, bringing income in. We represent quite a few restaurants who are already feeling the effects. We represent a few businesses that are involved in tourism and or part of these major events that we have here, conferences and meetings, and from the so many small businesses serve these large conferences like eMerge and anything happening at the convention centers, from people selling linens to bringing in the flowers to providing the food. And we don't always think about everything that goes into that. And all of these people have just seen their business blow up from one day to the next. So how do we get through that? We've had clients calling to find out if there's any way out of their leases, out of their contracts. I do want to take a few moments to talk about something that's called force majeure, and that is typically in contracts. It's not a straight arrow or straight shot to the cancellation of a contract or to get out of your obligation. But sometimes, depending on the contract and how it was written, it perhaps may be, because that is a clause that speaks to something like coronavirus, which would be considered an act of God. No one could have foreseen it. It's beyond the control, a reasonable control of a party, and it materially affects the performance. Unfortunately, when it comes to commercial leases, those clauses do not apply to monetary obligations. So because you can't pay your rent doesn't mean that you're going to get out, but it would allow you in other respects. For example, if you had an obligation under your contract to renovate at a certain time, that certainly could be used to get out of that obligation, but not for the underlying duty of paying rent. But there is a lot that's going on.
What if you, I know, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Oh, okay, all right. This is a new adventure for us here. So just kind of, we're going through the process right now, like so many of us are doing things for the first time here. But you represent some young businesses too that just got launched in within the last year. We have a common friend, a great guy. I was actually at his restaurant Friday night, Steve Bradley from Clutch Burger, and we had a good conversation. And it would appear to me to be a decent crowd out there in front of his restaurant in Geraldo and the Gables. He just said, no, we're at 50%, and that was just like 3 days ago. And what's happened since then, it feels like it's been like 3 years, but that was just 3 days ago. And they were already starting to feel the effect then. I mean, I can only imagine what guys like Steve and others are going through right now, especially having a young business as they do.
Yes, it is really, really sad what's happening, and I encourage everyone that's listening to at least place orders and pick up or have food delivered. These businesses need you. I don't know if you know, if you've seen it, I'm sure you have, but in the paper I read that Miami-Dade County yesterday just ordered all bars and clubs and restaurants, I think, and also theaters, to cut their capacity by 50%. And that is, if you have seating for 20, you're only going to be able to seat 10 at a time. This is really, really going to hurt our small business, our small restaurants, even the medium-sized restaurants. The large chains will be able to survive a little bit better, but even they are going to be hurting. So keep them in mind, especially right now when you can't really find much at the supermarket. It's important to support these businesses. But there is some help on the way. It is coming. It's not here yet, but the government is working on it. I'm sure you've been keeping up with Congress, and they passed a bill last week that the president signed off on, and that was to combat coronavirus, and a small portion of that, but $20 billion or something, is going to be put towards the Small Business Administration, the SBA, and there's already been information put out by the SBA for economic injury disaster loans, or EIDLs or EIDL. I'm not exactly sure how they're pronouncing them. Mm-hmm. These are going to be low interest rate loans for businesses that have been affected, as not to exceed 4% per year in interest and not to exceed 30 years. You have to meet the qualifications. That includes have suffered substantial economic injury, which is defined as the inability of the business to meet its obligations and pay for its ordinary operating expenses. You also have to be located in a designated state or territory. Florida has not yet been designated, but we are hopeful that it will be very soon. Currently, the state of Florida has a survey out. If any businesses that have been affected, it's very important for you to go on to this survey. It's at floridadisaster.biz/business damage assessment. Fill out the surveys. Let the state know what's happening to you, to your business, because this is what's going to help them understand the issues and understand how to help and how to do this faster. There's going to be several types of loans in addition to the one that I just mentioned. There's going to be an emergency bridge loan available, which is also short-term. Those are loans up to $50,000, and with employees between 2 and 100. There is a physical disaster loan, but I don't believe that one applies here. That's more for, weather disasters. And then there is the SBA economic injury loans and Small Business Development Center and business counseling. So I really encourage anyone listening who has been affected to go on there and fill out that survey.
Right. We're talking about some great opportunities and resources for small business owners to get back up on their feet. Again, the reality of this is that, these loans are not going to happen in the next 48 hours. Okay, the small business owner is taking a hit right now. By the time they get the paperwork done, even though they're going to be escalating this, it may take a few weeks. But what do you believe a small business can do now in the next handful of days just to stay afloat and be able to at least survive and move forward? I mean, what can they do right now? Because I'm sure you're hearing from a lot of your clients that are taking major hits right now.
It is very sad, and have heard of many layoffs already occurring because people just can't pay their employees. But for those who have the means or ability to access loans or credit lines, if they were smart enough to have set one up, I think that what you were talking about earlier, how you yourself just today have had to do things differently to make this radio show happen. That's, I think, what all employers need to do right now, is find a way that you can, one, stay relevant, two, be able to come up with a way for employees to work at home. How can we work differently with clients? Let's do some Skyping. Let's reach out. Let's see how we can help each other. Let's provide some discounts. Let's think of all the small businesses here in town that we can support rather than getting on and ordering from Amazon. Let's order from someone in town. Let's try to remember these people. And also, I did want to mention this is still. I wanted to mention this is still up in the air, but there is the House passed a bill that is having to do with employees who have to take time off from work. I'm not sure if it went to the Senate today or it's in the process. And this is going to provide those individuals who have not been able to work for 14 or more days because, one, they have a diagnosis of the virus, or they've been quarantined, or they're caring for a person who has the virus, or they're caring for a child. Public schools were canceled with very little warning. There are many people scrambling, to care for their children. So if the employer cannot cover this time off, this program will provide a benefit. It's almost like an unemployment benefit where the government is going to be able to reimburse these individuals. So that's, something else. I think that government is really trying to do its best right now to react as quickly as possible.
Lily, this has been phenomenal. I cannot thank you enough for the work that you do, but all of this information, because we have to keep focusing on hope, on getting through this and growing through this, so that at the other end we can take a look back and we can feel a lot really good about ourselves personally, that we were smart and we were determined to get to that other side and help our people and keep serving our clients. How can the listeners? I don't know if you're willing to take some phone calls or right now, because I know you're overwhelmed, but what's the best way in case the listeners have any more questions for you?
Well, they can, one, follow us on social media or sign up for our newsletters. We are staying on top of all the developments with the SBA and special programming and trying to push it out to our followers. On Facebook, we're at /Sir Associates. We're on Instagram at Sir_Associates, and we are at LinkedIn at Sir-Associates-PLLC. Our website is sir-associates.com, and if anyone would like to speak to me, my number is 305-222-7282, and we're here to support anyone that is in crisis as far as, how we can help as far as contracts, negotiations, anything like that, and also sharing the information that we're trying to gather for our clients.
Lily, thank you so much. I really appreciate that, and we'll stay in touch because any new updates, I'm sure you'll share them with us, and we can then pass on the word.
Thank you, Peter. I appreciate the time.
Have a great day. Thank you so much. God bless.
You too. Bye, Pete.